everyone. Hey. So my head is feeling much better. I've pretty much been tuning out of stuff, people. I'm typically in a room with the lights off, in a dark room. I haven't watched TV for weeks. That's a lie. When my mom came, I watched it for a little bit with her, but I cannot tolerate it for too long. And prior to that, I don't really watch TV like that. I'm on YouTube a lot, watching some videos, more so documentaries or public health issues. Anyway, this topic is called You Know How They Are. And I don't know how these topics are coming to me, but since you guys aren't commenting and give me ideas. Not yet. But if you like what you hear, if you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're learning, please subscribe. That's what I meant to say. So a few months ago, I went to go buy some wine at this liquor store up the street from me. And it was quite a long line. And someone came in and I don't know if he didn't see the line in the back of me or just jumped in. And this guy was like, hey, you know there's a line. And the guy turned, the person who intruded and cut in the line turned back, looked at him, and scoffed and just say no English, whatever he said. I was just like, no English. You understood what in my head, because I need to learn how to mind my business. I said, you understood what he was saying for you to say no English, right? And later on, I find out he's from a country that English is the first language, so you knew what was going on. And the guy in back of me, he was just, I don't like people bringing down my space in back of me and unruly. So I just turned to the side and gave him his space. And I was just like, I don't know how they are. How are they? They stink, this, and they try to act like they're better than us and this. And I said, maybe he didn't know there was a line behind me. Maybe he didn't see that, there's two separate lines. Maybe there was a better way you could have told him. But I was basically like, how does that they thing, quote unquote, and all this, and they think they better apply to this situation? Is that the situation, or is that other situations you've encountered? I feel like I was a whole therapist at that moment. He's like, other situations. And I said, well, in this situation, in this situation, right? How are we going to address this situation? But he didn't even say, hey, you cut in. He was like, what's good, cuz? He said something. I was like, you think he understood what you meant? Because to others, maybe that's a greeting. To you, that's like fighting words or whatever. Like, I was like, he probably comes from another country. He don't understand what that means and how you feel disrespected. So maybe there's another way you could let him know, hey, you're wrong for that. This is the line. It's like, nah. Every time I see them, they doing some stupid shit. And nah. So long story short, I got the guy to see my perspective. And he's like, you're right. Maybe he didn't understand. That's a slang. But I'm letting him know that I saw him. It's like, I see you. I saw what you did. And I don't like it. And I said, I understand. And I said, so often things get lost. Things get lost in miscommunication or the slang or whatever gets lost, So there's just ways that we can meet people where they are and give grace. And don't get me wrong, I'm no Mother Teresa or Mother Trisha, whatever. I've had my moments where I flip off on people. I'm like, you cut in, you better get in back of the line. But I'm like, oh, hell no. I've been waiting in this line for 30 minutes. You better, And so I get it, people who cut in need to be acknowledged. I don't care what color you are. I will put you on blast. But I feel like if you can be level-headed sometimes in certain situations, it can save a lot of bloodshed and it can bring some peace to certain situations. And where I am, I just acknowledge and see that there's just a lot of discord within the community. of African Americans and people who come from Africa. Like the people who come from Africa this time, we all, in a sense, come from the birth of civilization. But, you know, I don't like what I see. And it hurts so much because it's just like that, that, that discard allows other people to play on it and to keep us, like crabs in a barrel. But I do understand what the gentleman said, because many years ago I did use that same comment, you know how they are, to someone, and it was pertaining to someone who was from Senegal or Nigeria. It was some country, but he made a comment like, you blacks are lazy and you don't know what you're doing, and we have to come here with our knowledge, and we're so successful. And I was just like, oh no, you can only come here and be successful because of the movement and the atrocities and the battles and the protests and things that African Americans went through. So you can't come here just looking down on people. That's not okay. That is not okay. And if your country's so great, then go back to where you're from. And after I said it, I wasn't hurt. I didn't feel regret. That's the truth. If people come in and they say how great their country is, even people from the Caribbean, they're like, my country is so great and this and that. I said, if it's so great, why are you here? If it is so great where you live, why are you here? Do you understand what I'm saying? But looking back, there can be a bravado, right? There needs to be some confidence with certain people. But then that confidence shouldn't overshadow those who have fought. And we all fought a different battle, different war, protest, different things. But yeah, there needs to be some type of respect or understanding that certain people can come here and thrive because there were people who fought blood, sweat, and tears, who were lynched. There were people who were killed. There were people who were raped. There were people who've been through it for these said individuals to come in and thrive. So to come here and say, oh, you're this, you're that, you're lazy, you're welfare kings, welfare queens, nah, that's not a good look. So I want to tell you why you know how they are is a very disturbing rhetoric. Saying that is a justification of any reaction or action that you would inflict on said individual. Okay? You know how they are. So because they are this, that's why I can treat them like this. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to tell you another story. So one day my grandmother decided to have a conversation with me. I was probably like 15, 16. She said, you're grown into a nice young lady, Trisha, and you will get suitors. A man, a hard worker. She's Jamaican, so she was speaking patois to me. But I'm going to speak it in the way you can understand. And he will come home tired. You must keep the house clean, cook, take care of the kids. And I said, Grandma, why can't he do all those things by himself, Why can't he do those things? Well, I got to do all those things. That sounds like a lot of work, Grandma. I said, I'm not the best cleaner. I can cook. Kids, oh no, oh no. I'm traveling, I'm making money, definitely not having kids. So Trisha, listen to me. Your man may be tired, thump you in the back of your head, he might slap you. He will still love you. You just gotta stand there and be calm and know that he's going through stuff. I said, Grandma, thump me in the back of my head? No, that's abuse. Slap me? Oh no, Grandma, that is abuse. Trisha, stop being difficult. Stop it. What do you mean abuse? Trisha? I said, how am I be? I said, oh no, Grandma. I said, did Pops do that to you? I'm selling Cutco now. I'm selling Cutco. I'm gonna go get my knife right now. Grandma, oh no. And my grandma said, go upstairs, because you're just being difficult. And she sent me away because she didn't want to hear it. But I said, before I left, I said, Grandma, that is abuse. And I hope you did not encourage my mom to stay if her husband hits her or if my father hits her or whatever at that time. I was like, did you encourage mom to stay in an abusive relationship? This is not good advice. Trisha, move from me. Move from me, Trisha. I said, Grandma, I love you, but that is not okay. So from that day forward, I made up my mind that no man will put his hands on me. I'm going to lick him first. I'm going to hit him first. Even if he raises his hand. My pimp slap you so hard, you would. No, anyway. Even if he raises his hand, So, needless to say, my grandmother did not have another conversation with me about that. So I just want to say my grandmother is an amazingly sweet, or was, she passed away, amazingly sweet, kind, giving, the babysitter, the nurturer, the wise counsel, philosopher, and as I've done previous videos, one is only a product of their environment and their culture. So the last video, as I told you, or as I discussed, sexual violence in the last video, the culture the lady was talking about where women were getting hit left and right and every minute, it was the culture my grandmother is from. Anyway, God is good, and we live to not only tell our story, but to be generational breakers of traditions that aren't healthy. So when you find yourself saying you know how they are, why don't you ask questions? Why don't you educate yourself more about who someone is, the culture, what they're about, and give grace. Remember your power. Don't forget to share and subscribe and like.